welcome to Mindless Entertainment. It is I, God Empress Jessie Milestone. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm not wearing a costume, even though it's Halloween, because, I don't know, I'm just not. I'm wearing this cool shirt, though. It's a dude with a martini glass and a sword. Yeah. But anyway, we might do a live stream later on today that will explain why I'm doing things like making a video on Halloween without wearing a costume. That's not important. What's important is that we are going to address a Patreon suggestion today, because in true fashion, I've left them all to the very, very bitter end, so we'll probably get another one up either later today or tomorrow. Today's suggestion from my Patreon comes from The Wanderer, who wants to know, specifically asking the hard questions, wants to know, all right, Jessie, let's say that the thing that we wanted happened and Kathleen Kennedy had gotten the axe, and now you are now taking the helm of Lucasfilms. What do you do? How do you move forwards? A broad stroke question that I have yet to properly address and answer. So here you go. How do you fix? Now we're not talking about the universe, we're not talking about the movies, the plots, the things. We're talking about overarching long-term plans. How are we going to fix? How would I, as the new president of Lucasfilm, fix Star Wars as a brand moving forwards? Whew, that's a big, big question. And it's multi-point. It's multi-point. So if you like hearing stuff about Star Wars, listen up. If you don't, I don't really know why you're watching this channel, but maybe it's because you like me talking, and I'm going to do that too. So in either case, probably continue listening. So the first thing I'm going to do, right, is we're at the point where, you know, the script has pretty much been finalized for episode 9. I'm sure they're in production, things like that. I haven't followed the production schedule because I frankly don't care. But I'm sure we're in production, you know, probably solidly chugging along in production. So what I'm going to do first thing is I'm going to grab J.J. Abrams. I'm going to sit him down and be like, look, talk to me, brother. If you had done the trilogy, all 3 movies yourself, how does it look? How is it different from how it looks now? Great. And then I'm going to gently encourage him, or at least give him the green light to make some tweaks and changes to essentially not tell him that he's off the hook for honoring anything that was done in episode 8 in the Last Jedi. He's totally off. He doesn't have to honor any of the decisions Rian Johnson make, any of the direction he was trying to take the trilogy. He doesn't have to honor any of that. If he wants to reverse things, you know, obviously within the logic of the universe, I don't want him just straight retcon and be like, let's pretend that never happened. But if he can justify and write his way out, or have someone do it for him because he doesn't really write himself out of some of these boxes that Rian Johnson put on, I'm going to give him the absolute green light to do that. You know what? Good for you, buddy. You know, because look, at that point, let him try to stick to his original vision. The worst thing that we're going to get from that is something akin to The Force Awakens, which made me angry and I was very, very upset about. But let's put it this way. They can't kill Han Solo again. The worst they can do is shit all over Lando, which they might. But like, there's really not a whole lot. He can't make it worse than what Rian Johnson did. And visually, it was a pretty movie, The Force Awakens, and it made sense. It was a plot that flowed from beginning to end, and for the most part, in the context of the beginning to the end of the movie, not in the context of the greatest Star Wars universe, which I've discussed at length, but in the context from the beginning to the end of the movie, it made sense, right? So that's the worst we're going to get out of this. And now in doing that, in basically giving the finger to Rian Johnson, which is all Rian Johnson did to J.J. Abrams when he made The Last Jedi, right? You run the risk of, well, first of all, you have the benefit of bringing a lot of us back on board with a big old smile on our face, because that's what we want to see. We want someone to stick it to Rian Johnson. We want that to happen. That, for me, would be fun. I would get on board. I'd be curious enough to probably go see the movie. If it was clear to me that Abrams was just like, nope! If you throw out in the teaser trailer right off the bat, like, oh, Kylo Ren lied about your parents, I'm in! Because that to me is Abrams saying, suck it, Rian Johnson, we're doing this my way. And just for that point of fact alone, just for the suffering of Rian Johnson, I would go see that movie. So that's what I would do there. And now again, you run the risk of maybe pissing off people who loved The Last Jedi and thought it was absolutely brilliant. But even so, you're not necessarily going to have people just totally bounce out of the trilogy, because the narrative you'll start to spin there is, well, why did all this stuff change from The Last Jedi to the newest movie? Well, clearly because J.J. Abrams was mad that Rian Rian Johnson changed all the stuff from The Force Awakens to The Last Jedi, and we'll chalk this whole sequel up just to a feud between two, egotistical directors. And people aren't going to read too much more into that and be, oh my god, they've ruined the Star Wars universe. They're going to chalk it up to individual egos and not look at it as a broader systemic issue within Star Wars. And I think if you can do that, I think if you can write that narrative and sell that and sort of, write off this trilogy as a wash in that front and be like, look, we tried this thing and we made a mistake and these two people, let them be the scapegoats. Abrams and Rian Johnson couldn't figure their shit out and they ruined it all. Then you're able to at least save face and restore faith a little bit, so you have some more options moving forwards. So about the moving forwards, right? So 9 is inevitable, it's happening. We're gonna do the best we can to salvage that. Like I said, I'd like it to be a stick it to Rian Johnson. I think you're gonna generate a lot of interest about the movie in that way. Even for some people who are not necessarily interested in the battle one way or the other, but are just out because Star Wars has gotten boring for them, this might reignite them. Ooh, a director feud. Let's see who wins. Let's see whose movie's better. You can reignite some of the interest on that front. Now, I like where they're going with the TV shows. I haven't watched Resistance yet. According to Anna, I shouldn't. But I don't mind the idea of keeping up some sort of animated series for children. Now, again, you have to do it respectfully, and you have to handle feedback. Now, maybe, I don't know, some ideas of move things elsewhere in the galaxy, take things outside of the framework you've built, or this narrative you've built through these almost nine movies now. You could absolutely go back and do a Jedi Academy kind of, TV show. Something, that's children focused, that's about, adolescence, growing pains of being an adolescent while also learning how to be a Jedi within the context of the Star Wars universe. I think you can do something like that, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, keeping children alive and on board and interested in Star Wars, but I do also like the direction they're going with the live action shows. I'm excited for The Mandalorian. I'm excited for whatever the creators of Game of Thrones cook up, and I like the idea of letting them move into a TV show that is a little more mature, that's also geared for the adults, acknowledging that Star Wars spans multiple generations, that it's not just for us who've been watching it since we were kids and are now adults, and it's not just for kids who are going to grow up and grow out of it, because obviously I haven't, you haven't, many people who saw it way back in 1977 haven't grown out of it. So we have to acknowledge that Star Wars is for all ages, and I like the idea of having a show that is geared to a more adult audience. Something that maybe kids, they're interested in Star Wars, they've heard about the Star Wars thing, they can't watch it yet, something to get excited about, growing up, until I can watch mature Star Wars content, right, and keeps them invested in the long term. So I'm okay with those things, and I like the choices that they've made for the directors for those shows. I think you want to take people who are making interesting content, who are not afraid to push boundaries and limits, and who work in fantastical worlds and with heroes, and have shown the capacity to build that in together. I don't know how y'all feel about Joss Whedon. I think Joss Whedon could be an interesting candidate to do a Star Wars universe type show. I mean, he did Firefly, which was essentially that. So at this point, we've all accepted pretty much that Firefly isn't coming back. There's never going to be another season of Firefly. So why not give Joss Whedon a series in Star Wars that's very Firefly-esque, possibly even bringing some of the actors back, I don't know, and have that, get a twofer out of that. I could see something like that. I could be very happy with something like that. So I would definitely focus more of my energy into the TV shows, and I said this somewhere before, I don't remember where now, but for me, I said this in the Common Sense Crew, live in the Common Sense Crew, right? I think you gotta take a break from the films. Now, the one thing I would do in that front, though, is I would greenlight the Obi-Wan movie with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, set pre A New Hope, and I would consult with George Lucas. Not necessarily get a script from him or anything like that. I would consult. I would get some ideas from him, things like that. I would also consult with Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor's incredibly invested in his in that role, and we can all agree that was the hands down the best, most consistently good part of the prequels was him playing Obi-Wan. We're all about that. So I think you can absolutely consult with Ewan McGregor about what would be interesting for you with this character. What are your thoughts? And obviously you don't have to take and use all of them, but that way at least you're making sure that Disney's not just being its blank, humanless, faceless corporate entity, just writing a story they think people will eat up, but you're actually attaching it to an existing character within the universe. You're acknowledging things that came before Disney, and acknowledging that some of them were good, and targeting, targeting and bringing out this character that we all really loved. So that's where I would go with the movie, and how I would do that too is I wouldn't announce it, I wouldn't make a big hubbub or a big deal. I would keep it under wraps as much as possible, and then sometime, post episode 9, maybe around when the DVDs are getting released, you start leaking, letting a couple things leak. Do not confirm or deny anything about an Obi-Wan movie one way or the other. Just keep it super under wraps and let a little bit leak here and there just to pick people's interest, but not enough, because I think if you talk about it, if you announce it too much ahead of the game, especially in the aftermath of an episode 9, you're gonna have too much of this controversy, people digging their heels and saying it's unequivocally gonna be bad, it's unequivocally gonna be good, people who've made up their minds about it before it even happens, who are going to look for ways to nitpick it and destroy it before it even comes out. So I think forget all of that, right? And then, so you just let that simmer, you let it bubble under the surface, you don't tell them anything at all, and then just like end of the summer, bam, drop a trailer. Just drop a trailer for a Christmas release, right? Now people are just, what? Where did this come from? Out of nowhere. And now you only have a limited time, you only have a few months to build that hype. It's not enough time for people to be over it, for people to be upset about it. It's just that amount of time. All of that information gathering and discussing and debating that would have happened since the end, since the release of episode 9 is now just going to take place in this condensed form and keep that energy and passion up about it. Bam, Christmas release. Now, based on how that movie does, will definitely influence whether or not there are any other spin-offs in the book, in the books. If you can't make an Obi-Wan movie with Ewan McGregor succeed, Disney does not know what it's doing with Star Wars films and needs to just lay the F off until they just completely overhaul all their management and figure something new out. But if they can pull it off and make it work, now they have a formula that works. Oh, maybe George Lucas has some idea about this universe he created, right? Maybe these people who've been attached to Star Wars for a long time have some useful, helpful tidbits that they can offer to us. That's where I would go with that, right? And then you can start thinking, what else can we do? Then at that point, I'm not even upset if you want to revisit Solo. I'd recast and redo, personally. That might not fly that well. If you want to make that sequel, now that you're listening, now that you have an ear to the fans, right? And an idea of what people want, now you can go ahead and make that sequel. And again, a complete 180 from the first one. Do things that actually get people excited about it. Give us a character that looks like Han Solo. Give us a character that acts like Lando, right? I don't mean literally physically looks like him, but actually resembles, this character. These are things you can do moving forwards to try to save the films. And I would only throw out a spin-off here, there, once a couple of years if it's working for you. I keep saying you. I'm supposed to talk about me. I am the president now. Whatever. And then let it sit, let it simmer for a fucking decade. And at that point, when you get to some time has passed, people are ready, then you can start thinking about what would a new trilogy look like, and only then. But we don't need it. I would spend a lot of that time too just reinvigorating our love for the originals. Have events, have screenings, drop it in a theater. Look, if you throw Star Wars, the original trilogy, in a theater at Christmas time, you're gonna make gajillions of dollars doing that, right? Just do that. Just remind us what we love and why we love. That's how I would handle it. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question, The Wanderer. I hope other guys of you liked that answer as well. And I hope Bill is not suffocating over there. He's napping in a very odd position right now. I'm a little concerned, but that's fine. So if you guys want to give me suggestions, you can become a member of my Patreon as well. It's a super fun community. I post a lot of weird stuff. And you can be awesome like The Wanderer and do that. Also make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell, hit the like button, and engage. My continued awesomeness is in your hands, and I respect that immensely, and I love you all. So happy Halloween. Be safe out there tonight, guys, and I will talk to you very soon.